Thanks, Nia. It's really great to see all of you here today. And I'm going to go ahead and post this. This is going to be the Miro board where we're going to be working. And you got the slides there. Uh, you've got the board that we'll be working on here in a little bit. So just feel free to join that. And then I'm going to send a request so that I can share my slides. And then click share. Awesome. Hopefully you all can see that pretty well. Move my slides over here, get that all situated, and then pull down the notes function chat. All right, so I can see the chat. Cool. All right. Well, like Naya mentioned, my name is Grant Baker. I work for a retailer based here in the Midwest. I'm from Oklahoma City at the moment, although I've lived all over, though never in Ecuador. So that one's still on the list. But really excited to see you all here. So I really got interested in this idea of problems mattering more because what I began to realize throughout my career is that uh, oftentimes the problem that you're set out to solve is not actually all that valuable or all that worth solving, right? So this is the um, first interactive time. So see if you can't take one of these sticky notes here, write on it. Maybe describe a time when you've worked on a product that ended up solving the wrong thing. Just put it right there on the screen. Hopefully, yes. All right. Brandon has successfully figured that out. All right. I see a few others too. Good. It's working. This is exciting. All right. So, yeah, describe a time when you've worked on a product that ended up solving the wrong thing. I know for myself, I've definitely been there. We've put together a a life insurance application back when I worked at a insurance company, and it was just all kinds of uh, messed up. Like it did not communicate the real value of the product. It was trying to just say, "Hey, everybody ought to have something like this, and this is going to make your life better," right? Well, that wasn't the problem that anybody had. It solved the problem of the company kind of like trumpeting about their various wares, but it didn't help any users decide, oh, this one's for me or that other one is for me. Let's see what we have here. So, uh, who would like to share? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Who is this one? Oh, that one's Naya. Yeah, go ahead.
We were trying to, we were given the task of designing an onboarding experience, but I'm not going to tell you where. But,
That's no, that's totally fine. Yeah.
but the focus was so much on like the glitter and the show of it that the usability kind of got pushed to the side. And so we ended up designing something that wasn't as effective.
Excellent. Yeah. Who else do we have here? Whose is this one? Um, looks like Melvin.
Yes. Yeah. So I work for In the Documents. We're in the legal tech space specifically,
Yeah.
but we're creating a new navigation system for our lawyers. That navigation system was a little too complex for our lawyers. They wanted something much more simpler. We were kind of pushed towards this direction from our design manager. Anyways, we were in this foothold and we decided to pivot. Well, we tested it, we built it, created some prototypes, did some user research. That's the validation that we needed. At least I needed as a designer to then go back and say, hey, this is the wrong direction. So we ended up pivoting.
Yeah, too complex for users. I love it. Too complex for lawyers in particular.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
right.
Um, uh, let's see. It looks like Brandon. Would you mind sharing? It just says here, after some exploration, trying to expand a floundering segment was just not worth the squeeze. Bad partner, low ROI. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely, definitely hear that.
Yeah, with that one, it was similar to onboarding. We found that users going through this current booking experience were just met with so many different challenges. But I think the data got lost, and it turns out all the effort we were putting in trying to streamline this experience over 7 or so years, this particular segment barely converted. So it was just a lot of time just essentially wasted. And now it's going through a redesign, revision of where to set priorities.
Yeah, great example.
Mm.
Let's take one more. Who would like to share what they've written?
I'll take one.
Go for it.
Since we have onboarding as a theme here already, I'm the sticker that's dropped down next to some problems. Designing a system that was intended to get people out of spreadsheets and onto the platform, and yet it didn't. It actually created the need for more people keeping more separate spreadsheets. This happens sometimes.
Spreadsheets, creating more
You
spreadsheets.
remember spreadsheets, yeah.
Oh my word. That is
And
like
it was not that large a team. Our designer was in awe of how few people it was that had created such chaos. It was very interesting and informative project.
People are very creative when it comes to spreadsheets, I've noticed.
Yes. Thanks.
Excellent. Yeah. So today, what we're going to try to do is identify those problems that are really worth your time and energy. And it's not everything. So why don't all problems have these equal weight? Like, not everything's worth your time, even if it was assigned to you. As designers, we have the opportunity to really move beyond the assignment and discover the problem behind the problem. Those are the weightier matters worth your time and contribute the most to your mission. And so those are the ones that we're really going to lean in on here today. So one of those reasons is the business impact, right? Might not be there. And what I mean by that is that for the most part, business strategy is built on increasing like that top line revenue, sales, or decreasing bottom line costs, expenses. And your CEO is concerned about increasing profit, lowering costs, improving efficiency, and expanding into those new markets. These generally trickle down to you through several filtering levels through the corporation. Have you had that? Yet another time when you're getting in a room and your boss's boss is getting up there and saying, "These are our priorities for the quarter," and they all ladder up and they use fancy language like that, right? To they often become your area's goals for the quarter or year, but they are usually related to one of these types of categories. And so that those business and impact and strategy concerns obviously lend a lot of weight to why a particular problem is worth more than another. Another reason is user goals, right? So designer Carolyn Hu described choosing what to pursue in a talk. She was talking about strategy, and I'm going to quote here: a diagnosis, a good strategy is a diagnosis, a clear problem statement, and shared ambition and objectives for what the company is trying to achieve. A guiding policy, an analysis of key obstacles in our way, and then an overall approach for how to move forward. And finally, coherent actions. And what we're looking for there is alignment on the guiding policy and coordinated steps for how to get from here to there. So those are the kinds of things that, sorry, that's more business impact and strategy, right? And not surprisingly, projects are deemed critical by the organization, have much more effort behind them. You discover what's important by discovering things like focusing on increasing revenue or cutting costs, asking about like, are you trying to more innovate or renovate this? Or figuring out what's the investment that you've already put behind this? Is it something that you've already invested millions into and you're just trying to like get something of value out of? Or is it something that you're willing to invest millions into? Or maybe it's something that they're like not very interested at all in backing. So the answers to that kind of helps weight those. Those all relate to those business critical things. Let's move on to user goals. This is where designers are probably a little bit more comfortable, right? Companies have their goals, but our products users have different goals. Maybe you've noticed that. In fact, I heard that in many of your answers just a little bit ago. And our focus, right, is understanding their users' goals, their desired end state, and what motivates them. Usually, that doesn't mean throwing out one more feature in there, right? First, we gotta designers need to solve the user's problem before we can really make them happy. So this is the domain of exploratory methods like design ethnography or a diary study, secondary research even. And these kinds of things help identify the types of problems that have greater value to the people who are experiencing the problem day in and day out. Users place different values on problems due to the complex interplay of societal and cultural factors. And there's where design can help untangle those and make sense of them. And it requires really careful observation. We can't pretend to design for people if we don't understand them. And you can't design in a vacuum. To create something meaningful to users, you first have to grasp the cultural connotations that the product swims in, and signals that shape its meaning. And so there's a really good quote that I really like by Clifford Geertz. And it states that, uh, you know, that culture is public because meaning is. You can't wink without knowing what counts as winking, right? You can imagine it like, you could describe it as an activity of the tightening of the muscles around the eye. But that's not really what a wink is, right? We're from around the world here. We have Ecuador to Egypt to the US, West Coast to Central. We might have a little bit different idea, and our cultures are probably a little bit different in what counts as a wink and what that means and what that connotates. So commenting on this particular quote, Denny and Sunderland said in their excellent essay, "What is Coffee in Bangkok?" If you haven't read it, I would definitely encourage you to do so. I can provide a link here in the chat, right here. Something to read a little bit later, but observation as a method has merit because culture is practiced. Culture lives through people's actions, artifacts, choice of words, and tone of voice, just as it does through beliefs, talk, explicit perceptions, and values. So, what we're saying here, like a wink only makes sense in its culture, our products are only going to make sense when we understand the culture that they're a part of, right? And so that culture has a different bearing on the weight that our users might give it. One final one is organizational and human factors. And earlier we talked about the business impact and strategy, and that is, very important. But what I mean here are the humans that make up these organizations, your coworkers, your stakeholders, product managers, engineering, people like that. And these are, they can wittingly or unwittingly kind of work against you and the change that you need to make. People try anything to avoid changing their daily work habits, even if those existing processes make no sense. And that's really because those processes define their job, in their minds anyway, right? So that resistance can stem from indifference, fear, maybe a focus on short-term emergencies over long-term change. It's really difficult to go against the flow. Just think about in your organization or maybe one that you've read about where an influential leader or business area is going a particular direction. It's way easier for everybody else just to kind of fall in line behind them. Now, that's not to say that you should never go a different direction or stand up for a particular point of view, right? There is a time and a place for that. In fact, this is maybe the reason design was even called in to begin with. These factors, though, are going to influence the weight of the problem you are facing. And so it's important to be aware of those things. We call them hippos. Yes, highest paid person's opinions. There it is. So you probably have seen this before, the Keeley diagram, feasibility, viability, desirability. Show of hands, who is familiar with this diagram? Yeah, I'm scrolling through, I'm seeing a few. Excellent, right? Desirability is where we sit as designers. Now, an argument could be made and has been made that design owns the entire circle. And that may be true, but what everybody does agree on is that design owns desirability. Desirability is crucial. Desirability drives adoption. Without it, you can have a wonderful product. It makes all kinds of business sense. It is a technological marvel, but no one wants it. And so that's really the power that design has, is to be able to drive that desirability. The helping designing something that people want because it fits into their life. Yet we can't do this alone, right? We have to great great products happen at that intersection of all three of them, right? That's the lesson of the Keeley diagram. But what I want to kind of posit to you all here tonight is that great problems live here too. And we can use this kind of framework to look at where great problems live, the kind of problems that are worth your time and energy to go solve as a designer. All right. So problem value matrix, 2 by 2, right? This is a very common thing that a lot of designers use, right? It's very helpful to get a bead on categorizing different things. So early in your career, you might have been taught that every problem is an opportunity. But experienced designers know that the wrong problem can waste months of your life and damage stakeholder trust. So what I mean by the assignment, and I mean that in all cap, or not all caps, but title case, capital A assignment is, I very much used to believe that, boy, as a designer, you're given a list of things. We need you to go design this website. It needs to, if you're lucky, it'll say it needs to do these things. And then you go off and do it. And you don't ask a lot of questions. And then you come back and hopefully you've done a good job. And whoever gave you the assignment approves and, claps you on the back and says, great job, designer. Here's a raise. That's the way I used to think about it. Maybe some of you did too. But what I have found over the years is that actually what people are looking for you to do is solve a particular problem. And they don't always know what that problem is or how to express it. But what they do know is the pain they're experiencing. And so one of the ways that we can begin digging into that assignment and getting down to the problem behind the problem is through discovering its relative value to the suite of problems within kind of that assignment that you've been given, right? So we're going to look at each of these. Just like any other 2 by 2, we have our axes: value for the user and value for the organization. Obviously, the place we want to be is in this career makers. A little bit facetious, but they really can make your career, because they're the types of problems that are worth it to the organization to fund, and they're the type of thing that a user really needs. This will help them achieve a particular goal, overcome obstacles, and generally become the type of person that they want to be, right? So when those match up, that's great. When you find a problem in that space, chase it, because those are the ones that are going to be really valuable for everybody involved. Now, that doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes we have these backstage priorities, is what I'm calling them, and they can be kind of boring. They might be something like conversion from a overpriced software package to an in-house solution, right? So we're paying $5 million a year for this or whatever, and we really think we can do it better if we just bring this functionality in-house. It drives cost savings for the business, but at the end of the day, the people using that software just need a particular set of things. And whether they get it from, expensive third party over here or, your own in-house team over here, doesn't make a whole lot of difference. They're not going to get excited about it. Though it is good work to do, right? Because in many cases, you need to do this work in order to support new initiatives. And what I will say too is this is the kind of work that doing it really builds your credibility within the organization. And we're we're always looking to how can we maybe improve that? There's no one's out there saying, well, it's got to do exactly these. Well, I should say maybe there is. There is a legal person here who was talking about the lawyers, and they probably have very specific things for very specific reasons. A lot of you do, but there are ways that we can create that software in a way that maybe tries to push it up towards that quadrant where it's more valuable for users as well. The other one is future opportunities, right? Those are the ones that you might discover during research. Boy, if I only had this, this is a big problem for me, stuff like that. But it would require maybe significant investment from the company, or maybe wouldn't be profitable, at least right away. These are great ones to file away for later. You never know when somebody is going to finally see that business case, or when you yourself might be able to build up a business case for it, depending on the market size, things like that, or partner with somebody to bring that one home. The demand is there from the users. They would find it valuable, though at present they're just not as valuable for the organization to chase. Finally, we have the Admiral Akbar quadrant, which is it's a trap. And it reminds us that if the value prop isn't there for really the user or the organization, it's probably not worth doing, probably not worth pursuing, definitely not worth your time and energy right now. And if you find a problem here, though, and you're going to have that stakeholder who says, now, wait a minute, we still need to do it. This is just work that we have to do. Well, that might be a discussion that it's actually of value to somebody. And where that falls on the relative scale of other things that you could be solving is maybe a discussion that needs to be had. But if somebody is saying, no, we need this, there's value in it for somebody. So best to find out where that is. Otherwise, put it on the backlog and wait to see if it gets more important with time or just degrades. But my guess is you won't need to revisit that. All right. So the important part is that I want you all to remember is that the best products present a clear value to the user and a high value to the business. And now is the time where we are going to move out of our little presentation here and down to this sheet here called problem investigation. And we're going to take that moment to think about, and I'll give you some time to do this, but a particular problem that you're facing, a design challenge. And I want you to think about it from the two perspectives that we've been talking about, kind of that business perspective, and I've represented that by these blue stickies, and the user perspective, and I've represented that by these green stickies, right? So I have an example here. I'll zoom in on it. And this is one from back a project that I did a while ago now. But the business goal was retiring old, crusty, costly software and improve efficiency. They spun up a team to do just that. And it's just like, well, how do we design it? How do we make this? How do we make it pretty? But I was like, I'm not concerned about that so much as is it useful? And so what I went out and did was I talked to a bunch of people. This particular software was for salespeople on the phone. They're taking inbound calls from one of those commercials, dial 1-800-555, one of those types of things. And then they were converting the sales. And so one of the goals that I found that a lot of these people engage in are chaining these sales together and then crushing his personal goals. This is straight out of a persona that I wrote up around him, around this particular pattern that I saw. So if we can help the user chain those sales together and crush his personal goals, he's going to be really happy. If we can help the company retire old costly software and improve efficiency, they're going to be really happy, right? So that's kind of what I want you to do. Think about a product. Again, I'm not mentioning any companies or any. You don't need to mention any of that. Just talk about like what was sort of that business problem and what was the user's perspective on that problem, and go ahead and put them out there. Does everybody have the link? Wish we could send that meme to our stakeholders. No problem, Naya. Make you a I'll make you a screenshot. Used to describe what design thinking is about. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm just getting caught up here. So I see a number of you out there. Perfect. Yeah. And whoops. Don't know why it does that. But when everyone has a problem considered, we're going to begin looking for the commonalities between them. Um, are there some perspectives that are clearer than others? What opportunities are there to learn more about that particular point of view? Maybe you're coming to this and you're thinking, boy, I know the assignment I've been given. I was told I need to build an app that helps users navigate, navigate around their hometown. So I've got that from the business. They've must have put some thought behind it, but uh, I don't really know anything about what the users actually want, and that's okay too. You could just put a big question mark, maybe. Love this. I'm seeing things flow in here. Who are some people that did not get to go last time? Jackie. Jackie had the advantage of being like the first one that appears to be done. Jackie, would you like to unmute and tell us a little bit about this? Either that or I can just read it, but
Yeah, basically this is a design problem around the way two different products in the suite kind of relay data to each
yeah,
other. And there's a benefit to the user just in terms of like the way that they're able to create their reporting. But there's also a benefit to the business just in terms of kind of driving sales and retention for both products.
gotcha. Okay, so the company is successful when you're driving sales and retention. Makes a lot of sense. The user is successful because they're able to get better reporting data, um, and then able to share that with external partners. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, they're like um, current state is probably like, oh my word, I have to go to these 7 different places. I'm imagining, but is that kind of what it's like where I got to go to these, all these different places to pull this together on my own? I'm spending hours doing it, that sort of thing.
It's that and it's partially that and it's partially like, how come I'm inputting this data in this application, but I can't pull it into the other one when I know it's there, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So a lot of frustration with the tool, spending way more time. Uh, Jared Spool calls it like tool time versus goal time, right? They're spending too much time rooting around trying to figure out where all this stuff is and putting it in there.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Jackie.
No
Who's up
problem.
next? I thought I heard somebody. Oh, it might have been. How about the increased buy now, pay later? Whose is this?
That's mine.
Perfect.
Yeah, so the business perspective is we want to increase the viewability of buy now, pay later earlier in the purchase funnel online so that business sales will improve and reduce the friction of sticker shock or cost. Um, and then from the user's perspective, the user would be able to understand their financing options before they're already in the checkout funnel. So instead of looking at it and being like it's too high, they can understand what options they have available, um, and then make
Yeah.
an informed decision.
Avoiding that sticker shock, I'm sure, is valuable to both the company and to the user, right?
Yeah.
That's the worst feeling in the world. Well, maybe not the worst, but it's pretty bad.
Yes.
I'm being hyperbolic. All right. Oh, we got the lawyers one. I'm sorry. Was that Melvin?
Yes, correct. The company wanted to improve document profiling experience while also incorporating AI. So just thinking about how we can utilize the power of AI within our company. So this was one of those factors. And in turn, this could potentially help users because time is money for lawyers. So
Sure.
lawyers, especially so it's a document management system, right? That I work for, a company that I work for. So quickly searching and finding documents would improve their workflows, their day-to-day workflows, which they could complete tasks faster.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Who else wants to go here? Oh, what's this one here?
What is that one? What would
Daphne.
you like to know about that one, Grant? Hi.
Yeah, just go ahead and present it.
Okay.
What do you got?
Basically, this is a job search website. We won't name it, but
Sure.
the business case was that they wanted to be able to not have job seekers just come to the website, apply for a single job, not get it, and be sent away, but to
Ooh.
create a talent pool kind of function where you could come to the website, apply for the one job, and instead of getting a no, start over, you get a no, but there are two more jobs just like it that are 5 minutes from your house. So that would increase the attractiveness of the site, number of clients, et cetera, for the business side. And on the user side, the users were the internal recruiters, and this would give them higher job satisfaction by being able to offer job seekers multiple opportunities rather than starting from scratch every single time.
I love that. Yeah. I've worked in a similar industry at one point and looking at doing something similar, and I lost that battle, but
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's really cool.
Leaving aside that recruiting has been broken for decades, we'll just
It sure has.
we'll just leave that over to the side for later. Thanks.
You and I will have to grab coffee later. All right. Oh, users have no idea what actual deadlines are. This one sounds interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, that was mine. In this company, they thought that they were telling their card holders what the payment deadlines were.
Yeah.
So they just stuck it wherever and set it in a way that the users didn't really know what that meant. And it was very different from industry standards. So they were really confused. They thought their users were just being irresponsible with their money. On the other
Mhm.
hand, users had no idea what the deadlines were. So they would just
Gotcha.
be like,
Okay.
yeah, that's what came to my mind.
Yeah, no, that's great. Uh, w- are some perspectives clearer than others? Are there opportunities to learn more about a particular point of view? Where do you need to challenge your assumptions? Did any of you experience one of those where you're like, yes, we really needed to challenge ourselves on this one? Oh, here's one I missed. Scorch earth approach.
Yeah, that one's mine. We're just having a data. So it's a new dev team from years beyond where the company was first originated, and now we're just seeing all the errors of the past, and they're hitting us pretty hard right now. So I think the decision needs to be made where we just like to start over or just try to somehow rebuild things piecemeal. And at the same time, the users who we can't just shut them off. So being able to provide some kind of in-between solution at the same time, um, it's a juggling act, to say the least.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
So, I want to go back up here to the slideshow. And so, what makes a problem valuable to users in the organization? What are maybe some patterns that you saw, maybe in your own or somebody else's as they were sharing?
I might take this one.
Yeah,
Uh, I think there was a sort of a sense of urgency. You don't necessarily realize or even prioritize a problem until it's kind of hitting you in your face, really. Seems to be a running theme.
yeah. So if it's like there's a time crunch, not just on the organization, maybe they got to get something out right away,
Hmm.
but there's a time crunch on the user too. Like, boy, I'm running out of options here. Somebody help me. Kind of like that. Is that what you're getting at, or
Yeah, it's also critical mass. I guess like it you tend to see issues become important
yeah,
when you have no choice but to deal with it. Like it's going to really alter the state of your experience or your platform. You're kind of in facing dire consequence. Essentially, you is a kind of key issue when thinking about problems or what is
yeah.
actually considered a problem.
Anybody else? So one of the things that I'm noticing is that there is a I want to go back to down here because somebody had one. Um, with NAS, it was about the deadlines needed to be communicated, right? There is maybe a particular piece of information that is important to users. It's important to the business, but the disconnect comes when it's hidden, right? So here, they think that they've told them the deadlines and don't know why users are complaining about the timelines, but it's hidden, it's not available, and it's creating this stress on the user's part and unpaid bills for the business. Somebody else had one similar to that. Uh, yeah, this one, the increased buy now pay later. Um, so there, surprising the user with the sticker shock, right, was really important to both of them because it's valuable information that the users needed to know the truth of, and the business needed to communicate that truth too. So uh, that uh, that was one of these areas where the information is stable between them, but the conflict comes when that information is hidden in some way. Cool. All right. Any other comments on that one?
I think this is a very obvious one, but financial impact.
Oh,
If
yeah.
we're
Tell me more.
I mean, if we are able to get to a financial impact and see how a problem is or a disconnect is affecting the company, I think that problem will get prioritized very quickly. And it would be very clear that this is actually creating a lot of issue. For me, at least, it would just go up, like it would become a priority too.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of things that come back to visibility, aren't there?
Mhm.
Making things more visible, making sure that everybody's aware of what's going on. is really, really important.
Well, and I would add to that sort of
Yeah,
as I was thinking through this, and I, of course, didn't write anything, but
that's all right.
visibility, sometimes means creating an extraction layer to communicate it up the chain to management in a way that they can understand, right? Like I do a ton of work around um, online community and self-service stuff. And of course, if you work in have anything to do with online support, all people want is to deflect call volume, right? And they don't necessarily care, right? Or connect to the other things that you need to do to be able to deflect call volume and how as I am fond of telling people, if you want to deflect call volume, just turn off the phones and then we won't have calls to pay for, right? Nobody wants to do that. But, it's like, so how do you figuring out how to make that not just visible, but, to use, whatever language, you need to have people be able to interpret what you're trying to accomplish and how it meets their goals, but in a
Yeah,
way that they can uh, that fits with how they're thinking about the problem. So
that's awesome, Steve. Yeah, fantastic. It's harder to do than to, or easier to say than to do, but yeah, doing the work to provide that abstraction layer so that it is understandable in a language that our stakeholders can understand. Um, switch off I'm going to use that one next time. Well, we could just switch off all the phones, and then all your problems go away, right? But yeah, it helps you
I can't
refocus on the
claim
core.
credit for that, but I claim credit for using it a lot.
I love it. That's great, Steve. All right, well, let's talk about some warning signs. Um, that the problem that you've been assigned is not actually all that valuable. Um, yeah, let's see, do that. Okay, an unclear or undefined problem. Who of you has run into this? I'm looking at all the pictures here. Show of hands. Few of you, yeah. Um, that's not a pleasant place to be, is it? With these, if you can't clearly articulate why you're doing the work so that the desired or what the desired outcomes are, you've got to stop. It is common for stakeholders to simply not even know what those things are. They can see maybe basic problems. We talked about this earlier, but often come asking for the wrong thing that might help the short term pain go away, but it's not going to fix the underlying problem. Um, does anyone have an example of that they'd like to share? It's okay if not. I'm just realizing that we have 11 minutes left and we have a few slides to get through. We'll talk about that later. But the next one is designing for everyone uh, and its various variants, right? Designing for mom, designing for, just some of these broad categories, right? Alan Cooper calls that an elastic persona, right? One where you can just kind of stretch that thing to be whatever you want it to be, whatever the soup du jour is you can stretch it. But remember, stakeholders are looking at things from the business perspective, yet we're the user advocates. So we're responsible for discovering, representing their goals. Designing for a primary persona is much more effective than trying to cram everybody into the same box. In fact, Alan Cooper, he's one of four authors, probably the primary author in About Face, said to create a product that must satisfy a diverse audience of users, logic might tell you to make its functionality as broad as possible to accommodate the most people. This logic, however, is flawed. The best way to successfully accommodate a variety of users is to design for specific types of individuals with specific needs. When you broadly and arbitrarily extend a product's functionality to include many constituencies, you increase the cognitive load and navigational overhead for all users. Facilities that may please some users will likely interfere with the satisfaction of others. And he gives in there an example of a car, if you're making, or a motor vehicle, really. And if you're making it for these, uh, for everybody, it might look like half a truck, half car, half minivan, right? But if you split that up, you can make a car, a minivan, and a truck all separately and for designed for very specific use. That makes everybody happy instead of just no one happy. All right. One, no quantifiable business value. This should be pretty obvious from what we've been talking about, but without business value, there's no appetite really for the organization to pursue building the product. You've got to make sure that it's related to things like bringing in profits, higher profits, or what they call incremental income, right? Income that's not there today, but could be if you put this product into the marketplace. Maybe it's lowering costs. This is an exercise that we're always trying to do, get leaner, right? Freeing up capital. Can you maybe free up some money in order to chase other opportunities? Maybe it's just expanding into a new market or improving efficiencies. Yet, just because stakeholders give you 3 KPIs that they want to improve doesn't mean that those are correct, right? They may just be easier to measure. Ensure that whatever metrics you put in place actually measures something worthwhile. In the same vein, check to see if the measure actually inspires behavior contra other business goals. This is a real example. I found it in an article that I'm happy to link. But it was a fast food chicken restaurant. And oh boy, we're throwing away too much chicken that's cooked, but nobody ordered it, right? So imagine if you were a restaurant manager and you're being told, hey, we've got to reduce our waste. What are you going to do? Well, what a lot of the managers there did was, all right, everybody, no cooking chicken unless somebody orders it, right? Then we know that we're not committing any waste. We're not throwing anything away. But what is the effect of that? What's the second order effect? It's turning a fast food restaurant into a slow food restaurant, right? I mentioned it's an older article from MIT, the 7 deadly sins of performance measurement and how to avoid them. It's a little bit shorter read. Good article. All right. So then over-indexing on features. I want to play a little experiment with you. I'm going to list off some features of a product, and I want you all, I'm going to pause and I'm going to have you all tell me what you think it is. And if you've already heard this one before, it's the same one. But 1, internal combustion engine. 2, 4 wheels with rubber tires. 3, a transmission connecting the engine to drive wheels. 4, engine and transmission mounted on a metal chassis. And 5, a steering wheel. Who knows what it is? What am I talking about? Just shout it out.
It sounds like a car.
Sounds like a car. Yes.
Truck.
That's exactly right? So, great, almost. But now I'm going to switch. Instead of listing features, I'm going to talk about listing user goals, right? Things that people actually want to accomplish with this product. Okay, cuts grass quickly and easily. Comfortable to sit on. Now who thinks they know what it is? Shout it out.
Riding lawnmower.
Yeah, that's right. So Alan Cooper wrote I'm a big Alan Cooper fan. Maybe you noticed, but this is from his book, The Inmates Are Running the Asylum. And it's an example from a class taught by interaction designer Scott McGregor. And what I love about it is it shows that focusing on the features, you can easily go the wrong way. You can easily build the wrong thing, and you can easily just solve the wrong problem, right? That's what we're trying to get out of. Whereas if we focus on user goals, we're going to be a much more likely to hit the target. All right, slide 22. How do we deal with low value problems? We all have them. You're going to be assigned them if you haven't already. Uh, you know, so what do we do when we get there? How do we move to that career makers quadrant? All right, well, let's cover a few things. First, one of the way to do that is to flip the script, and we're going to practice here. Instead of unclear, undefined problems, let's clarify through research. Get curious about what the problem is. Chase down the leads and others who work with your stakeholders. So with that life insurance example, what I finally did when I got on there was to say, instead of having these massive meetings with all the stakeholders, life insurance was a huge product of this company, their lifeblood, you could say. I sat down with all the stakeholders individually and got their true concerns, right? That they didn't necessarily want their coworkers knowing about, right? And that got to a lot more clarity about why the problem was a problem. So that's one thing that we can do. Designing for everyone, try discovering some personas. They're out there. It takes some user research. Uh, you know, I highly suggest Kim Goodwin's book, Designing for the Digital Age, and also the book about face that I referenced earlier, that give a really thorough description of that process. Those two books are what I've pretty much built everything that I believe about design on. They're excellent books. They're thick, but they have chapters on things like persona building and things like that. Uh, is there no business value? Oh, that's okay. Discover how that value is created. If you're stuck in one of those quadrants where the business value is low, we called it the save it for later. I know that's not what I actually called it, but my brain is fuzzy on that. The point is, uh, if you haven't done it, try doing a value stream creation map. There's a great book called The Goal, A Process of Ongoing Improvement. It was written back in like 1984 by this guy, Ellie Goldratt, who is, I think, like a physicist or something like that. The example is from a factory work, right? But the principles there are very applicable to everything we do in design. So are we over indexing on features? Well, let's refocus on user goals. Um, Through that persona process, that's essentially what you're doing is you're distilling down to what are people actually trying to do with your product. And once you get there, that's going to be a lot easier. All right, Grant, but what if you can't? You're telling me, um, I Grant, I can't do the clarifying through research. They've given me 4 weeks to do this. That takes way too long. Or I can't put a value stream map together. I'm not even sure uh, that they'd be able to adequately say that. I'm just being asked to do this one thing. So and many other problems perhaps too. Oh, thank you. Wow, Naya, you're on top of it. Thank you.
You
For simple
mentioned,
suggestion.
sorry, you mentioned another book that we were wondering about, Designing for the Digital Age and something.
Oh, Designing for the Digital Age and About Face.
Okay, thank you.
And that's by Kim Goodwin. And then About Face, which is by Alan Cooper et al. There's like 4 different authors. Um, and the 4th edition is the latest one. Latest being relative. I mean, I think it came out in like 2013. All right. So 4 simple suggestions for if you can't do any of those things. One, don't stand in front of the train. Uh, what I mean by this is if the organization has set its sights on a particular direction, there's just no stopping it, right? And instead of getting run over, get on the train. These things are usually cyclical, especially if you have an agile shop, right? The whole principle of agile is, oh yeah, we do this, try this thing out, and then we find out if it works, and then we improve it. So if you can get in the rhythm of that, you can begin working ahead of that process. And there's myriads of information out there about design and how does it work with Agile and things like that. I don't actually have anything offhand, but I could find something if you're interested. But the point is, get on the train and then work within the system to try to figure out how you can get ahead of the train and actually be the one laying the track. All right. Document your work and the outcomes of the team's work. And hat tip to Nea for the GIF. Yes, perhaps we might have a moment where we're able to say to our trusted coworkers, "Told you." But the real purpose of this is to be able to document the decisions that were made, why those decisions were made, and try to help the team do better. And it plays into the next two things. Be open to being wrong. We're not, we're all not perfect, and sometimes designers get it wrong, believe it or not, and that's okay. If we're open to it and we're able to learn from it and have that growth mindset, we can actually use that as a launching pad. And then building accountability as a virtue. If you haven't read it, there's another book called Crucial Confrontations. You may have seen Crucial Conversations. Um, but that is another book that's just really great about building that ability to hold someone else accountable, right? And I can drop a link to it too, but there is a story that Jared Spool tells about a organization that was like, "Hey, we need this thing fast," and they rolled it out. They didn't have time to do the proper research or things like that, but they built it using best practices, and it worked. It filled the business uh, the business need. But a lot of the users, it was a invoicing app for small businesses, right? Because a big pain point was, I don't get paid right away. This pay, it was like a pay now or pay, bill me now kind of feature where it would enable the person to get paid within a day or two. And the people who found the, this is very familiar from what we talked about earlier, but the people who found that functionality found it useful. And it was great. But so what they were able to do is go back and say, look, we skipped this stage earlier. Can we please go and we're going to go and do the research now and figure out what's going on. They found the problem, fixed the problem, like 30 million in sales or whatever. It was amazing. That is what they processed with that first iteration. Uh, what they then did, the design leader at that corporation, is he worked it back. If they had done their research when they had anticipated doing the research, they would have actually made 100 million. And that's a great conversation to be able to have with your business partners, is like, hey, look, this is why we need to be in there doing the design work in order to figure out the desirability of the product, so that we can build a thing that people actually want to have. And so, in the spirit of Jared Spool, that's what I came to talk to you about today. Um, and I know we are 5 minutes over. I do apologize for that. But I'm happy to take any questions for those of you who are able to stay. Oh, and LinkedIn information. You can.
Yeah, we're here for another few minutes if anybody wants to chat. If not, and you need to run, thank you for coming. Appreciate
Yeah,
your input and your energy.
yeah, absolutely. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, great. Drop a note in like the notes to say you were here, because Probably like you, I get a lot of spam, and so it'd be nice to say, "Oh yeah, okay, I know you." And then my website is Baco Industries. I write on there occasionally. Feel free to check it out. And yeah, uh, join the next IXDF event that NEA organizes. This is great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.